is. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Rain at last. Whoa, we needed this rain. We really did. Now, I hope it doesn't screw up any of your golf plans for the weekend. I think you got a little respite now until this afternoon. Go get your golf in right now. Maybe it'll slow some of these greens down. I know Colonial yesterday was crazy how fast the greens were. But they'll maybe be slowed down a little bit. How about Yachty last night? Did you see Molina in town, DHing last night? According to Ben Johnson, who was on with Greg and Eli earlier, he could catch tonight, so his finger's okay. He stole a base. He stole third base. He got on. This is just happens for major leaguers, right? Sometimes better lucky than good. The guy got on base 3 times last night, didn't have a hit.
They were too careful with him.
I bet he gets a hit tonight. Man, can you believe that? A guy who's caught more games than any other person in Major League history, and he's down here playing, and he wants to play. He's more worried about the weather than his finger for tonight. That's great stuff.
Team guy.
I love that. I love that. I really do. We got a busy show coming your way today, as we always do. Adam Walker, who is the Executive Associate Athletic Director, he's got basketball in his jurisdiction, and he's part of the team. There's 3 guys, really, that do all of the scheduling. Penny, the main guy, obviously. So that schedule came out yesterday, and I know some have questioned, why would it have come out during the AAC Media Days? Fair question. We'll ask Adam Walker that when he joins us in just about 10 minutes or so. Jason Munn's on that schedule and a whole bunch of other stuff in news. As he always does on Fridays, he joins us at 10:25, and then our agent in Chicago from Priority Sports, Andy Schiffman, he'll join us on what's going to happen with free agency and the rest of the stuff and what's going on with Kevin Durant. I guess that's the next big deal, right? Jaylen Brown, the Celtics. I don't know why anybody, honestly, would want Kevin Durant. That he's owed $200 million over the next 4 years. He's mid-30s now? He's been hurt a bunch. And at his age, how old is he, J-Mo?
33.
33. So 37 when he's finished with this contract. Honestly, I wouldn't spend the money on him. And if I'm Boston, they did make the finals, didn't they?
They did.
I mean, why would you make that move? I personally don't quite understand it, but we'll see what they will end up doing. But we'll ask Andy Schiffman about that and a whole lot more. Speaking of contracts and things of that nature, how about Murray yesterday? Kyler Murray had enough, didn't want to be asked anymore about it, and basically lashed out, called the clause in that contract disrespectful. I heard somebody national speculate, because this thing was never supposed to be made public. It did not come from the Arizona Cardinals. So the people are wondering, why would this have come out? Why would this embarrassing thing come out? I didn't realize this, but the league contracts are made available to everybody, all the NFL teams, because if there's trades or anything of that nature, or they want to check that they're doing things the correct way, staying within the salary cap, those sorts of things. So it could have been somebody from another franchise that publicized or leaked, look at the deal. He's got to do this film study. They don't trust him. They don't think he works hard enough. And Kyler Murray was PO'd. And really, I thought it was embarrassing and never should have come out. But Russell Copeland opened my eyes yesterday when he said, this is just totally disrespectful. This is the thing about how a black quarterback is just not smart. And that struck a nerve, obviously, with plenty of people because the Cardinals yesterday took that clause out of his contract. And I want to ask Andy Schiffman a little bit about that, too. That was an embarrassing moment. I don't think there's any question. That was an embarrassing moment for the franchise. And you probably, in retrospect, should not have put that in to be made public. You could have gone to Kyler privately, and maybe they have, and said, look, you've made statements about watching film before. And he did. He brought some of that upon himself. You've made those statements. We're asking you to do a little bit more prep. We love you. We love your physical abilities. We love how you read defenses. We're not saying you're not smart, but we think you could be even better if you watch a little bit more film. Contrary to the statements that you yourself made that you don't need to watch as much film as other people. We'd like you to watch a little more film. Just say it to him. Guy's got enough pride, I would think, being the athlete he is. And he made the point yesterday, do you know how hard it is to play two sports at a major college? He played baseball and football. The amount of work you got to put in for that. The guy works. The guy does study. It was embarrassing, and they were forced to take it out. But you got to wonder, what's the feeling now between their star quarterback, who they've only – and by the way, their guarantee, $160 million. Not to say that he won't get all the money in the end, but if he doesn't, he's only guaranteed $160 million. Deshaun Watson, who we don't even know if he'll play this year, he got a guarantee of $230. If I'm Kyler Murray, I'm not a big fan of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, he seemed more angry in my eyes at the people talking about it on the internet and people talking about it on television than he was with the team himself, but I'm sure he holds a little bit of resentment towards the team. I thought it was interesting in the team statement. It was interpreted in a way that we never intended. What way did you intend that to be interpreted? It seemed, I guess they hoped people would focus on the money they were giving him and not this weird clause they didn't expect to be publicized.
Right.
But when you put that in a contract, how do you think that's going to be interpreted?
Well, it's not going to look good. And I guarantee you, when they put that in there, they were trying to make a point to him. Please study more. We think you can be even. We believe in you, or we wouldn't be giving you this much money. $46 million a year. That's a lot of money. We believe in you, but we think you can be even better if you study more. All they had to do was say that. Putting that in writing ended up being a major embarrassment. And I know now people will have learned their lessons about that and not make those sorts of demands that can be embarrassing and, frankly, fracture a relationship. Now, I don't know if that will be the case in Arizona. I know Cliff Kingsbury was trying his best to downplay it, but and I don't know that this is a Kingsbury thing. It could be the GM. You would think that Kingsbury would be involved in that sort of thing because where did the notion come up that he hadn't studied enough? So I wonder, if Kyler Murray can get over this and not be upset, and if they win, they'll be fine. I suspect, but it's an embarrassing chapter at this particular moment. And you know what? If he does really well over the next 3 years, they will pay for that. They will pay for that. Speaking of getting paid, how about DK Metcalf, the former Ole Miss Rebel? Man, is he making money. Now, I don't know that he'll be as productive without Russell Wilson throwing him the ball.
Is Drew Lock going to get him the ball at the same clip? Probably not.
I don't know. But he got $72 million. I think $30 million guaranteed, right? I mean, a signing bonus of $32. I think 58 of the 72 are guaranteed. So he got his pay. Good for him. I can't wait for the next week, for over what happens this weekend, because we're going to find out. MLB trade deadline is August the 2nd. Today's the 29th of July. So we've only got 3 or 4 more days, right? What will happen? We've seen already the Yankees, who now look human, right? They were so good to begin with, the greatest start. The Astros have almost caught them.
Astros are good.
The Astros are really good. I can't see anything but an ALCS that has Houston and New York in it. Can you?
That would be the best series, I think.
So they made the first move in this late trade deadline stuff with Andrew Benintendi coming over from Kansas City. But who is next? The Nets made a move yesterday. I don't know how big a deal that is, but they get a little help. Now, the biggest names are Soto and Ohtani. Everybody's saying San Diego is where Soto will go, but the Cardinals are definitely in the mix. That's 1-2 that way. If it breaks down with San Diego, he could be a Cardinal.
And the Cardinals have good prospects as well. There's a lot of people, I'm not sure if the front office feels this way, although history might indicate they do, that they're a little bit too in love with their prospects. But, I mean, look, as good as prospects could turn out to be, that's potential. Juan Soto might be the best hitter in baseball since Albert Pujols. I'd give up whatever they want to get a guy like that if you have the option to.
He's going to cost you. He's going to cost you Pujols kind of money.
That's right. But for 15 years, a guy that's 23, if you can extend him, that's something else.
Are you going to give him a 15-year deal?
Oh, I'd give him
offered?
as much as I could give him. I'd give him.
Wow. I guess I don't know that I would go more than 10 years with anybody. And that was the Pujols 10 years, and they got saddled with a guy late in his career. Come on, he was not the same. He was really productive for about 2 or 3 years of the 10-year deal. The Cardinals made out like robbers by not getting him, and they tried. They tried to pay him. And he moved on, and it's good that he ended his career there. But I guess Soto is that next guy that you would, and he's young. I mean, he will be in those productive years that the Cardinals had with Pujols. So whoever gets him, I don't know that I'd go more than 10, but I know the Washington Nationals were willing to give him 15, but the average wasn't enough for him. So we shall see. The other big name, Shohei Ohtani. A guy that I think I would pay big money for. Now, the rumor is the Mets are going to get him.
I saw something yesterday. I can't remember if it was Jeff Passan or Ken Rosenthal, but someone said it's cooled down. It looks like all these talks probably are going to be preliminary going into the offseason. If there's a deal made, it's probably going to be the offseason. But you never know. Things could heat up these next couple days.
Well, and the other name is Wilson Contreras. There's another decent name. The guy's a great player.
Great player.
I hate that the Cubs are going to give him up. They've given up everybody, so why not just get more prospects? And you're going to flounder for about 3 or 4 years. Cubs are going to be just irrelevant for the next 3 or 4 years, it seems to me, especially if they're going to give up on Wilson Contreras. But that is something that you look this weekend for. Last thing, we got to bring in our friend Adam Walker, the executive associate athletic director over basketball for the University of Memphis. But this is really cool. James Wiseman. CBS did this thing. They picked 5 players that they thought were going to make the biggest moves in their third year. And they point to other players that had breakout years, their third year, that became really stars in the NBA. 2 of those 3 have Memphis Tiger connections. The very first one they think will make the biggest improvement this year, the most improved player, third-year player, will be James Wiseman for Golden State. How about that? James Wiseman going to make the biggest move, and he will become a star in his third year, according to CBS. Tyrese Halliburton was second. Third, he came in with James Wiseman. Wiseman not playing was the reason why he ended up being an entity. Precious Achiuwa. Wiseman won, Achiuwa 3 as the top guys to make improvements to become stars in year 3. Nick Nurse, I mean, he is going on and on about Precious Achiuwa, who will be playing for him in Toronto. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. A reminder to you, the vacation at home sale is coming to an end. We got a new sale starting in August. It's the summer clearance sale. Oh, yeah, you got to get over there for that. You will love it. There's always something going on. I promise you. And this stuff, you're going to get 30% off on play gyms and trampolines. You can get up to $1,000 with free installation. I'm just telling you, there's always something cooking, but this clearance sale that begins in a couple days, unbelievable. At I-40 and Whidden Road, Family Leisure, where family and fun all come together. You know our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. That is the place you will never pay more than sticker price. I saw this story. I've told you before. It was on the news. Way over sticker price. Thousands over sticker price. A good deal in this short supply. Supply and demand that does not happen at Homer Skelton Hyundai. That's why Chris Drew has such great customer retention. People come back because they don't get taken advantage of. They get taken care of. Homer Skelton Hyundai, where you'll never pay more than sticker price, at the corner of Craft Road, the first exit in Mississippi, and Highway 78. Adam Walker joins us now, the Executive Associate Athletic Director, and basketball is one of the things he oversees, including scheduling. And that schedule came out, and I want to say maybe last year there were 7 bye games. I know even with Cal there were 7 bye games on occasion. 3 bye games, and even Little Rock has brand name quality to it. And you got Alabama State. That's a favor to Tony Madlock. And that team with Amari Knox, the kid from Bartlett that was almost a Tiger, and TJ Madlock, Tony's son, that's a decent team. I mean, this is one heck of a schedule. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Wolo. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're excited about this schedule as we're going to get into it. But Coach Hardaway and the program, we've been able to put together just a tremendous schedule. So, as you mentioned, I'd probably say this is one of the best schedules probably in 15 years, easily. Definitely since I've been here. So, kudos to Coach Hardaway. He's willing to play anybody, anywhere, and we were able to make all the pieces fit, which with scheduling sometimes can be a big puzzle.
5 SEC teams in this thing. You brought in VCU. That was a surprise at the very end. Let me ask you this. How does scheduling work? I know you're involved, but give me the way the whole thing begins.
Yeah, great question. So, it's really a collaboration between myself, usually the director of basketball operations, obviously Coach Hardaway there at the top. The director of basketball operations used to be Rodney. And then when he left, Jordan Verhulst stepped in, kind of helped me out there. But first, we kind of look at the schedule. I work with FedEx Forum. We have to play 17 home games by contract with FedEx Forum and the Grizzlies. So we get some dates from them. From there, we kind of reach out. We'll have schools reach out to us in terms of dates. And then we start to put it together. And then we find opponents available on which dates, whether we can travel or they can travel here. And then we usually would take those to coach and say, okay, here are the opportunities. And a lot of times, they're limited just based on, hey, us and a marquee team may want to play, but, they're playing the night before, we're playing, 2 nights later. It just doesn't quite work. So it's always a delicate balance. But once coach says, hey, yeah, this is the opponent we lock in, then we reach out to them. And then from there, I work on the contract and get it done. So really, really pleased with what we ended up with this year, which you said is 7 postseason teams. There's actually 6 teams in the top 40 rankings that we're going to be playing. So it's really exciting.
I would think it had to be very difficult to do this because you just mentioned by contract you have to play 17 home games. That's your deal with FedEx Forum and the Grizzlies. So you've got 9 home games with conference games because they play 18. That means you got to schedule a minimum of 8 home games. Most of the time, those end up having to be bye games because a lot of the non-conference games, folks don't want to do home and home, especially with a brand name like Memphis. How in the world did you engineer 8 non-conference home games with only 3 bye games? I don't think I've ever seen that before.
a little bit of luck, a lot of hard work, but you're right. It works out well, and you're right. That is a big piece most don't realize, I think, is the minimum home games. So anytime we want to schedule a marquee opponent, it's usually a home and home. And so we're finishing up a couple of those this year in terms of St. Louis on the road, Alabama on the road. Those are both home and homes. And so we have to be really creative and really think ahead because we're going to schedule a marquee opponent, whether it's Alabama or Texas A&M or Vanderbilt or whomever, you can expect it to be a home and home. The great thing with the resurgence with Coach Hardaway and his notoriety and the program rising, people want to play us. So we fielded a lot of calls. And there's a lot of great programs that we weren't able to schedule this year that have interest that I think we can in the future. So there's a lot of conversations that go on. But you got to work at it and get to them. And a little bit also is timing, right? So if you're late to the game and they've only got one date, it just doesn't work because we're already playing somebody the night before, or it's not available at FedEx Forum. So it's a lot of puzzle pieces to put together.
I'm assuming when you mention a couple that could be in the future, Arkansas and Louisville have both been mentioned several times by Penny himself. Are those two possibly in the future?
I think they could be. We definitely have mutual interest there. I know Coach has talked to both those programs. I think we want to make it happen. They want to play. Just making sure that we can find dates and times and whatnot. So those two that you mentioned are definitely on our radar. We'd love to play them. They're regional, rivalries. I think they would be tremendous for fan bases. But we also look, regionally in our scheduling. So, Ole Miss, for instance, Vanderbilt, I think is a tremendous addition. It's easy for our fans to drive up there 2.5 hours. Even St. Louis this year, that's only, a few hours north on the interstate. And we've also, there's lots of others out there. I think Missouri's a possibility. There's some other big time programs, but we talk to a lot of different programs throughout the year, and there's a lot of mutual interest. So that's what's exciting is we have a national brand. People want to play us, and that you can see that by the schedule.
A&M, obviously, you have to return next year, so that'll be a game at College Station. What about VCU coming here? Is that a home and home?
Yeah, it is. So we'll be returning the game next year at College Station. Same with VCU. We'll be headed there next year, and that is a tremendous program. They're going to battle for, their conference along with St. Louis. Those are top quality programs in the A-10. Postseason teams potentially this year for sure. And Vanderbilt as well. So that is a home and home. So we're starting there this year, and then they'll return the game to FedEx Forum next year. So that's something we look at. And then, of course, restarting Ole Miss again. So home here, and then we'll return the favor next year.
So Ole Miss, that is the continuation of the series. So there's another game in Oxford next year. Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
Yep.
I was amazed. This is the first time in 30 years that Memphis is starting on the road. What was the ultimate decider that made Penny say, "Okay, we'll do that"?
That's the great thing about Penny is he wants to play a tough schedule, and so when we looked at this, and said, "Hey, we're trying to work on these opponents, just like we mentioned. Vanderbilt came up. There was some mutual interest, and they said, this is the date we can play." We knew it'd be opening on the road in the SEC. Vanderbilt and Penny said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so for us to be able to get that home and home, and we got an experienced team, and I really think we're going to be a tremendous team. Really, with COVID, it's hard to always count the seniors, but you're looking at 7, 8, seniors or fifth years. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have an experienced team. We're going to be battle tested. But he was open to opening on the road twice. I mean, you look at Vanderbilt and then going to St. Louis. Those are two very tough places to play opening the year. But he's up for the challenge, and we're excited about that.
Well, Vandy's got a young team. They got a great recruiting class, but they lost Scottie Pippen Jr. And so their guys will be young. This will be a good test right off the bat about that experience versus talented youth. So that should be a lot of fun. Not last thing. You mentioned this is the first, the toughest schedule since 15 years. That would be 2008 Calipari's years. Is that speculation, or did you look at all those different schedules and look at preseason rankings and determine that?
Yeah, we actually went back through, looked at rankings and net and RPI used to be previously.
Yeah.
And that's what we looked at. You're exactly right with that 08 team. They had a pretty daunting non-conference schedule, I think 3 ranked opponents or so. And this schedule, honestly, by the end of the year, has the opportunity to have 3 or 4 easily. You look at VCU, St. Louis, Auburn, Alabama, maybe Texas A&M. I mean, at the end of the year, I wouldn't be, surprised to look up and see that we played, 5 or 6 even.
I think
with the ESPN tournament.
A&M could end up being as good a team as they
just missed out last year.
Yeah, they just missed out last year in the SEC championship game, and then went to the title game in the NIT. This is the last thing for Adam Walker, who is the executive associate athletic director and in charge of basketball from the administrative side. What was the reasoning behind the decision on AAC Media Football Day to release the non-conference basketball schedule? There are some that wonder about that.
Yeah, good question. And certainly I think that was, we'll own that a little bit. It was really unintentional that we've been working on this non-conference schedule for weeks. We wanted to get it out. We were thinking that football, in some sorts, we wanted to get it out before fall camp begins, which is next week, so we didn't want to overstep. Looking back, hindsight 2020, would have been better to release late in the day on Thursday or possibly this morning. So I do feel bad there a little bit, but always gives you guys plenty to talk about. And we are excited about what Brian's doing and the football team, and we have huge potential there this year. As you know, same thing, opening on the road 2 straight games.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about where he's headed in this team and what we got going on. So lots to talk about in Tiger Athletics this year.
Adam, we appreciate it, and I know I'll be seeing a lot more of you here in the coming months.
Sounds great, Wolo.
Thank
you so much. Go Tigers.
That is Adam Walker. Again, he is the Executive Associate Athletic Director. Basketball's under his jurisdiction. He was involved in the process of this schedule, which is, by metric, the hardest schedule of non-conference opponents that Memphis has had since John Calipari's 2008 championship run. This portion of the show brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Group. Big Tiger fans, perfect for that segment to be a part of, because it's a team too. They're a team just like Memphis. They believe in collaboration. They will find for you the perfect protection. And here's the way Matt and his guys, Grant, Andrew, and Heath, Matt's going to sit you down. He's going to get to know you. He'll know your family. He'll know your business. Small to mid-sized businesses, commercial insurance, he is a specialist. Same thing with that. They get to know your business, what your assets are. They forecast out so they can protect you the best possible way. And for personal insurance, home, auto, life insurance, they get to know you and your budget and fit the perfect protection. All you got to do is call 901-386-4777. That's GER for Tigers. 901-386-GER. That's the way to get protected with the Eflin Insurance Team. And this portion of the show brought to you by Poppy's Pills. That's the Pilsner everybody's crazy about. Oh, yeah, they are. This is from Grind City. It is Memphis through and through. You can get it in 6-packs. You can get it in 15-packs. You can get it all over town. It's the Pilsner that is light, crisp, and refreshing. It's perfect for a hot summer day. Even if it's rainy, you'll love it. Best served ice cold. It is really and truly one of the great products from this town. You get a taste of Memphis because it's made right here. From Grind City, get what the doctor ordered. The Pilsner, Poppy's Pills from Grind City. We take a break. When we come back, we'll catch up with our friend from the Commercial Appeal, the Tiger basketball beat writer. That's Jason Munz, and he's next.
You have opinions? Uh-huh. Of course you do. Everyone does. Hit us up on the AutoZone listener line, 360-8255, 360-8255.
There are so many ways to buy and sell houses these days. How do you choose? Well, of course, choose the right way with Chet Whitsitt. Chet has over 37 years of experience as both a broker and a sales agent. He's helped lots of people buy and sell homes, and he will help you. It's the right way, and it's that easy. Buying, selling, or referrals, check with Chet at 901-484-5689 and Cry Like Realtors at 901-756-8900. Buying or selling? Check with Chet Whitsitt.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We've all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, that's not possible. There are aerial pictures that can be taken every 4 years that can be used to measure most buildings, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof, or even if you need one, looking at pictures that could be 4 years old. If you'd rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, give us a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best service we know how to give. Fiveash Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Your favorite Italian deli, Lucchese's, now ships. For over 25 years, Memphis has trusted Lucchese's to feed their loved ones. And now they've created 4 great comfort food meals that can be shipped across the country to your family and friends. Enjoy lasagna, ravioli, tortellini, spaghetti, Italian spinach, and delicious sauces with no MSGs, no preservatives, and no artificial colors. Lucchese's can ship anywhere in the U.S. All you need to do is go online to lucchese's.com to place your order or call 901-766-9922.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Next time you walk into a grocery store, maybe to buy a carton of milk, just look at the immense selection of types, sizes, and brands. Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf, you know him as Sheldon. He tells people selling your home can be just as confusing when you're trying to pick an agent. You go with someone, but you don't really know if they're the right person for the job. Well, Sheldon will tell you. Talk to 2 or 3 real estate agents. Make sure he is one of them. In your interview process, you definitely need to find out what they think of your house, what the price might be, but you also have to ask, what will they do for you? Will they be honest with you about possibly doing a few things to change the appearance, which will enhance your price? Find out why people say when you want the job done, you call Sheldon. He's got this highly successful strategic marketing program that can make a difference in when you get your house sold. He makes the difference, I promise you. He might be the worst golfer in town, but he knows real estate. All you got to do is call 483-0546 or go to memphisrelocate.com. Get the job done with Sheldon. Jason Munz, Tiger beat writer for the Commercial Appeal when it comes to hoops, joins us now. So, Jason, what'd you think of this schedule? Adam Walker, who was involved in the process, the athletic director that's over basketball, said it's the, by metrics, toughest non-conference schedule Memphis has had since 2008.
Since 2008. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's not all that surprising just because, you can just eyeball it and tell that at the very least it's the best non-conference schedule that Memphis has had since Penny Hardaway got here. But yeah, I mean, like it really is a heck of a schedule, especially from a metric standpoint. On paper, you got, I think it's like 11 teams. There are 11 games as we sit here today that will come against teams that finished in the top 66 in the net last season.
Wow.
With the potential for 12 if the dominoes fall the right way at the tournament in Orlando and they end up facing Oklahoma on the second day, it could be 12 games. And Memphis had 8 such games in the regular season last year. So yeah, it really is a daunting schedule. SEC heavy. There's 5 games against SEC teams. But yeah, I mean, like Seton Hall and St. Louis has got a chance to be pretty good. They returned 4 starters, and not just that. They had a guy who was a second-team all-conference player season before last, Javonte Perkins, who missed all of last season with an injury. He's back. So St. Louis is not going to be any pushover whatsoever. So yeah, they're going to earn their stripes early this year.
Well, I think they'll earn it right off the bat with Vandy. First time in 30 years they go on the road to start a season, and they got a great recruiting class. So as I just mentioned a little bit ago, this will be a great test if older, experienced guys can overmatch young, really good talent, because that recruiting class that Jerry Stackhouse has put together is pretty high rated at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and not only that, but they went out and got some guys in that recruiting class who Memphis was after. Lee Dort is one. Noah Shelby is another one. Colin Smith. I mean, these are all four-star guys that Memphis was trying to get. So, yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt finished with the 24th ranked recruiting class in the country for this past cycle. And, so like you're not there, there's no such thing as, getting your feet wet here. Like you're going to be thrown right into the fire. But I mean, like, that shouldn't be, that should be the case. Like you should want to, you should want to see where you are right out of the gate, especially when you went out and did what you did with your own roster, signing a bunch of transfers and getting older and all that sort of stuff. I mean, these guys should be able to handle it.
You really need to start doing a lot of this because think about what the conference is going to look like after UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati leave. Houston is clearly the favorite to win again. Memphis is probably second, but Miller's trying to really raise the profile back again at Cincinnati. I suspect he'll be pretty good. I don't know what's going on at UCF. They have never been a major factor in basketball, even with Dawkins bringing in Taco Fall and people like that. But who's going to remain? Believe it or not, Tulane actually will be a factor in this conference going forward.
Yeah, I think Tulane and Temple are on the upswing. Wichita State's never too far away.
That's right.
I don't think so. But yeah, like this type of non-conference schedule is going to become, it's not so much of like we'd like to do this, but in the very near future, it's going to be we have to do this because there's just the influx. The teams that are coming into the American are just not needle movers. UTSA, Rice, Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte, has some history, some tradition, but like they haven't been relevant in quite a while. North Texas, they've had some relative success here in the last few seasons, but overall, that's not a big brand name. That's not year in and year out somebody you can count on to be in the top 75 or top 50 in the net. So yeah, like this type of non-conference schedule is going to become almost mandatory as opposed to, we'd like to schedule tougher because it helps us down the road or, it helps prepare us. It gets us ready for the conference schedule. No, this is you're going to kind of be, you're going to be at least one step closer to a one bid league, potentially, one or two bid leagues. So a non-conference schedule is going to be, a stiff non-conference schedule is going to be vital going forward.
You just wrote a story. Memphis has a new director of ops. That would be a guy named Garrett Kelly, who has been a head coach at Rabun Gap, which is a boarding school in Georgia. He had been a director of operations at Siena and Radford. I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of this guy. It's an interesting penny hire.
It is. It really is. Like this is somebody who for the most part, sort of plucked from obscurity. You mentioned Radford and Siena. He's been a director of basketball operations before, so he's got some experience. He's not just that though. He was an assistant coach at a Division III school in the DC area called Catholic University. He was also a head coach in the Canadian Basketball League for a couple of years. One other thing that's on his resume that I think is pretty interesting. There's something called the NBA Assistant Coaches Program, which is basically a deal where it's basically set up for former NBA, WNBA, and G League players to develop them into coaches, to help them, help get them ready for life after basketball if they want to go into the coaching business. And yeah, it's called the NBA Assistant Coaches Program. And Garrett has been a mentor in that program for, I think, almost going on 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so like he's got his hand in a few different things, but he's going to be the new director. He is the new director of basketball operations. He started this week, and yeah, I think it's a pretty sneaky good hire on Penny Hardaway's part. At least it looks that way from the outset.
Well, interesting background for sure. And then the obvious question is, does Rabun Gap have any good players?
Yeah, that is something that, immediately springs to mind about, whenever anybody makes a hire, it's like, well, who are they connected to? Are they connected to anybody? Are they connected to anybody who makes sense, that they might be able to bring with them eventually or something like that? And I forget his name, and he's not like a high-profile recruit necessarily, but I think that's largely because he's playing at Rabun Gap, number 1, in Northeast Georgia. Not necessarily a traditional basketball power or a big brand on the high school, basketball scene, but I forget, his name escapes me at the moment, but he's like a 7-footer, and I think he's class of 2024 or 2025, so he's an underclassman right now. And he's originally from somewhere in Africa, but he's like a 7-footer, and he's kind of starting to make a name for himself on the recruiting trail. But that's really the only one that I've seen off the top.
Right. I guess strength coach, equipment manager, those are still up for grabs. We don't know about Larry Brown, Sean Forrest, JJ. I guess all those will be figured out here in the next few weeks. Maybe some other players, because don't forget Amani Bates and Jalen Duren both signed in August last year. So who knows what Penny has in store. Jason, we're going to take next week off, but we'll have some stories, I got a feeling, in a couple of weeks.
I know. It's never ending, but that's all. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you take a break, and we'll pick this thing up in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason Munz, beat writer of the Tigers for the Commercial Appeal. Brought to you by Conway Services. They do so many things. They do heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, but they're also known around here for the tune-up, that 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-up that makes sure your system is working correctly, that your house in this heat is cool. Mine is, because I get 2 per year. This tune-up, 16 points. They come inside. They get everything in harmony, so your system's efficient. Efficiency means lower MLGW bills, and it means your system will last longer. They also go out and clean all that dirt and grime and leaves out of the outside units. They'll even give you a special Teflon coating to protect those blades outside in this hot, hot sun. All for $69. Please call 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. And beat the rain. Get out right now to Miramichi. That's where I'd love to be going this afternoon. What a gorgeous place it is. In Woodstock, 12 minutes north of downtown on Highway 51, 330 acres of beauty, 7,400 yards of championship golf. I played it at about 6,300. You can play it at 5,500. Every time you go, you can play, and you get a golf cart and complimentary range balls, as many as you want to hit. Great practice facilities. Then after the round, check out the terrace on a day like today. It's covered in spots. Sit under the cover and look at that view. It's the best view in Shelby County of 918, ponds, trees, skies, natural beauty. Golf Week set in 2020. If you're playing golf in Tennessee, you got to play Miramichi. If you live around here, you've got to play Miramichi. What a total golf experience. Back in a minute to Chicago we go. Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports, our agent, joins us in just a second.
Let former Memphis Tiger Gabe Kuhn and Brett Norsworthy take you home every afternoon with Sports Time on Sports 56. Weekdays from 3 to 6 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
It's time to take it on at Gossett Mitsubishi's summer sales event. You need a new ride? We Gossett covered. Don't fret about gas mileage on your summer vacation. Get 39 MPG combined with 2022 Mitsubishi Mirage, $219 a month or $17,015. Take sporty to a new level with 2023 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. 28 MPG combined, $349 a month or buy for $27,335. Plus, 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander, 7 seats, $409 a month or $31,795. And get peace of mind with our stellar 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. That's Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online at memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 75 months of 3.69. Mirage NH 006956, MSRP 170,515. Eclipse PZ 00747, MSRP 28,085. Outlander NZO 78,023, MSRP 32,295. Includes all rebates and incentives. Excludes tax filing license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 8/1/22. Dealer stock only.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. Have you been turned down by your homeowner's insurance in the past 12 months for damage you believe you're owed? Call Brian Elder Roofing now. Our professionals will do a no-obligation, thorough evaluation of your property and document all damage we find. Our fully certified Hague inspectors are trained to identify storm damage to assess and build a full estimate in a language your carrier will understand. If there is no damage found, we will tell you just that. We build a data file of your actual storm damage for your carrier, all at no cost to you, free. So call now for your comprehensive roof guarantee from Brian Elder Roofing. Call us, 867-0303. That's 867-0303. Or schedule online at brianelderroofing.com. Because if you think it's a claim, we'll help you show it's a claim.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Since I just talked about Miramichi, I got to bring up Charles Barkley, staying with TNT, not going to the Live. Never got an offer, but I think he got enough feedback from sponsors that he wasn't going to take a chance on that. And last thing, did you see Mark Hubbard, who's a pro playing at the Rocket Mortgage Golf Tournament in Detroit? Yesterday on a par 3, he hits a shot. It looks like he's pulled it a little bit left. He's so disgusted, he throws his club, and the ball hits the green, rolls about 30 feet into the hole for a hole-in-one. Could you imagine throwing your club in disgust on a hole-in-one? That's what happened with Mark Hubbard. To Chicago we go. Andy Schiffman, our agent from Priority Sports, joins us now. All right. Explain this to me if you can, because I really don't get it. How in the world did the agent, who is Kyler Murray's agent, allow that clause, which was very embarrassing and now dropped with the Arizona Cardinals on his deal? How did that clause get into that deal? Why did Kyler Murray accept that?
Well, I think, look, not knowing the ins and outs of that negotiation, right? And this whole, the clause you're referring to is this whole, independent film study.
Yeah.
That he has to complete 4 hours of independent film study each week. In this business in general, and on the basketball side, which I operate on, you always have an advantage. Look, it's as simple as this. When you have leverage, when you have a floor and you have an alternative that you know your client will be happy with, you can move the needle, you can push a little bit, you can push the envelope, let's say, you can be a little bit more aggressive in your negotiation. If you have no leverage, and again, I don't know the ins and outs of that negotiation with Kyler Murray, but just simple as it can be. If you don't really have any other alternatives, you don't have any other leverage, or there's something else that we don't know about behind the scenes, then you have to explain to your client, look, you accept this deal as it is, or we're back to the drawing board. We have nothing to fall back on. And so, again, I can only speak to my experience, Dave, in basketball.
Right.
And there have been a handful of times where, as an NBA client or as a client overseas, we may have to sign a deal that we may not absolutely be in love with, but it beats nothing and the player says, I understand that, I accept that, I may not be happy with it, but again, if this is part of my contract, part of my agreement to get this deal done, then so be it. I have to go do it. I do think it's a little bit absurd what we're talking about here, right? Like there's the media and the pundits and everyone is so up in arms that there's a clause that mandates him to basically do your job, prepare accordingly, prepare for games. So maybe, look, I don't know Kyler Murray's career. Stick to basketball, but maybe he was just slacking in that department. And so the team really wanted to make sure that he was doing that. You know, for basketball, I think the best thing that I can, the most akin analogy or similarity, let's say, that I can attest to in basketball is it's when we have a player that we represent who has a tendency to have fluctuating weight during the season, kind of gets in and out of shape, doesn't really watch his weight. And so NBA teams oftentimes will put in clauses that say you have to test regularly or get, it's almost like a regular weigh-in, like a bi-monthly weigh-in with the team to maintain a certain weight. And again, you would think, hey, this is a no-brainer. You're a professional athlete. You should be doing this in your sleep. But not every player does that. A lot of these players that make so much money, just the little nuances that the day-to-day responsibilities they have in their career, sometimes they're not on top of, they're not thinking about. And so the team says, you know what, to make sure that we're holding you accountable in these different areas, we're going to make this a contractual obligation.
I did not realize you had Zion Williamson. No, I'm making that up.
Yeah, right. I like that.
Explain to me, if you're Boston, why you would give up Jaylen Brown. I mean, you guys made the championship game last year. You got a couple new pieces. Why would you break that up for a guy who's 33 years old, who's still owed $200 million guaranteed, who has been injured a lot the last couple of years? I understand he's a great player, but would you make that move for Kevin Durant if you were Boston?
You know, it's a really tough call. I think as simple as I can put it, Dave, if I'm Brad Stevens and I'm Boston, the reason I do it is to show my fan base and Boston that we are trying to win now. And Jaylen Brown is an elite level player in this league. He's young, a world of upside. But Kevin Durant is, when he is healthy, as you and I both know, he is on another stratosphere. And if you're trying to do whatever you can possibly do to beat a Golden State Warriors team laden with stars or secure an NBA Finals berth for potentially the next couple of years and push it over the top, it's hard not to go after a guy like Kevin Durant. They're obviously in win-now mode. I don't think you really give up a lot in the future by going after and making a trade like that to get Durant. They still have so many other nice pieces, obviously led by Tatum. It's a really tough call. I don't think it's a bad decision. I don't think if you're Boston or if you're a fan of the Celtics, you look up and you say, oh, my gosh, I can't believe we didn't trade Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant. We had the opportunity to. It's not a no-brainer, but, again, it is an upgrade. On the flip side, look, I know I'm not giving you much clarity here, but I don't think it's a negative thing if you make that trade. I don't think you're going to have Celtics fans in this offseason hemming and hawing by giving up Jaylen Brown to get Durant. Now, you will if all of a sudden you get to November, December, January, and by the All-Star break, KD's body's breaking down or he's missing games, and you've given up Jaylen Brown for someone that really can't stay on the court for, let's say, more than 50 games during a season. Then it becomes an issue, but hindsight's 20/20. You just don't know.
Right. So you would have made that move because the rumor was Memphis would send Triple J, who's now injured, Bane, and Zaire Williams for Kevin Durant. Would you have done that deal?
If I'm Memphis, I would absolutely do that deal. I think if I'm Sean Marks in Brooklyn, I think I can get a little bit better pieces. I think you have to get unprotected first-round picks if you're moving Durant. I don't know if I do that deal if I'm Brooklyn, but if I'm Memphis, absolutely. Like Zaire Williams is a good player, good prospect. Desmond Bane is a really, really solid rotational player. He's got a very bright future, one of the best shooters in the league. Jaren Jackson is very good. I don't think he's ever going to be an all-star. But you bring a guy like Kevin Durant, you compare him with Ja Morant, I would do that any day of the week.
All right. Last thing, CBS just named 5 guys that they thought in their third years, like other players have, would become stars, their breakout years. 2 of the top 3, James Wiseman 1, Precious Achiuwa 3. How about that? Are you surprised?
A little bit surprised. I didn't see that, but I think Precious showed a lot of evolution, maturation last season. Look, Wiseman could be there. I don't necessarily agree with the Wiseman pick. He's got to show he's healthy. He really hasn't had a huge platform or a good sample size of games yet for people to really judge him. I think he absolutely has the potential, but I'm not so quick to put him on that list if you're talking about only 5 guys. You know, I do like Precious. I think he's in a great spot. He's continuing to improve, continuing to just feel out the NBA game and adapt. And I really like him. I mean,
no doubt.
Like where you put him in his third year, I don't know, but he's trending in the right direction for sure.
And he had Wiseman number 1, so that is really
interesting. I wouldn't agree with that. I don't know who else I put there. I have to think about it, but I wouldn't put him number 1.
Well, they had Tyrese Halliburton number 2.
Yep. I mean, I can see that. I'm a big Tyrese Halliburton fan.
Andy Schiffman, our agent in Chicago. We'll be off next week, Andy, but we will pick this up in 2 weeks. Thank you, my friend.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend. Thanks, Dave.
You got it. That is Andy Schiffman. Weekend's here. Hope you're all loaded up. If you're not, don't worry. You get to the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue. You know, that's right there at Poplar and St. Nick, heart of East Memphis, right down from Clark Tower. You've passed it by. It's that little log cabin. The Connor family has owned and operated that thing since '69. Family business. And they treat it as such. They treat you really well when you go in. They'll educate you on spirits if you would like. I'm not kidding. If you want to know about a particular tequila or a bourbon, he's got some rare bourbons in there, or you want to know what the hottest vodka is, he'll tell you. What's the up-and-coming wine? He can tell you that. What's the bargain that will be a gem in a couple of years when it comes to wine? He'll let you know that. If you're looking for a bargain with any kind of whiskey, he'll let you know what's really good at a good price. Just go in and check it out. Can't beat it. That's the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We thank Adam Walker. We thank Jason Munz. We thank Andy Schiffman. I'll be off next week. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Have a great weekend.
I often say they've set the bar for the way car business should be.